The call came on a Monday morning, the kind of Monday where even the sunlight feels tired. I was sitting at my kitchen table, coffee gone cold, staring at a crack in the wall I had memorized over the past few weeks. Since Emily died, time didn't move the way it used to. It just sort of hovered. My phone buzzed. I didn't need to look to know who it was, but I did anyway. Richard Hale, my father-in-law. I let it ring longer than necessary not to be dramatic just because part of me wasn't ready to hear his voice. When I finally answered, there was no, "I'm sorry for your loss," no softness at all, just business. "Daniel," he said, clipped and firm like he was calling a junior employee into his office. "I'm calling about Emily's service." I listened. Location, time, a pause. Then the part he'd clearly rehearsed. "You will not be attending. The family agrees your presence would complicate things." Complicate. That word landed harder than anything else. 7 years of marriage reduced to an inconvenience. I remember looking around my apartment, the place Emily and I built together piece by piece, and thinking how strange it was that grief could be dismissed so cleanly. I said, understood, because I refused to give him anything else. And then I hung up. For a long time, I just sat there. Angry, sure, but mostly hollow. The Hales had never liked me. From the beginning, I was wrong. Wrong job, wrong background, wrong energy. They lived in a world of charity galas and legacy last names. I designed things. Quietly. I wore the same boots for years and cared more about how light moved through a space than how impressive it looked on paper. The first time Emily brought me to their house, her mother smiled like she was tasting something sour, and her brother Mark didn't even bother hiding his amusement. "So, what is it you do again?" he asked, swirling expensive whiskey. "I work in design," I said, "like interior decorating." He smirked. Emily squeezed my hand under the table, apologetic. They decided who I was that night. And nothing I did after ever changed their minds. They made jokes about my car, my clothes, my cute little apartment. One Christmas, they gave me a book called Dress for the Life You Want. I laughed it off. Emily was furious. But I told her it was fine. It was always fine. Because she saw me. That was enough. What they never knew, what they never bothered to ask, was that my work paid for a lot more than they realized. I didn't advertise it. I didn't need to. Emily knew. That was the deal. We wanted something real away from her family's noise. After the call, something strange happened. I didn't feel the urge to fight. I felt calm. Sad, yes, but clear. Emily had always hated drama. She believed in quiet truths. So instead of showing up uninvited or making a scene, I went to my desk and opened the folder she'd labeled "If." Inside was everything. Letters, documents, plans. She'd thought this through, maybe more than I had. And right there, tucked between legal papers, was a note in her handwriting. "They'll try to erase you," it said. "Don't let them." The day of the funeral, I stayed home. I wore the jacket Emily loved, sat by the window, and said goodbye, in my own way. Across town, the Hales filled a cathedral with people who barely knew her. Politicians, executives, people who shook Richard's hand and told him how strong he was. He stood tall, proud, even in grief. He'd done what he set out to do. Control the narrative. Remove the embarrassment. Halfway through the reception at their house, the flowers arrived. Not a modest arrangement, not something polite. This was impossible to ignore. Tall, alive, with color filling the entryway like it belonged there. People stopped talking. Richard assumed it was from some business contact. Mark joked about the price. Emily's sister Claire found the card. My handwriting. Her smile vanished. Inside was a message for Emily. Simple, honest, and taped to the back a key. An address, a box number. Claire didn't understand it, but she couldn't ignore it either. The next morning she went downtown, to a private vault. The attendant checked her ID, nodded, and said, "The cosigner is already on file." That confused her. The box was heavy, inside no jewelry, no cash, just a will and a stack of letters, all from Emily, one addressed directly to Claire. If you're reading this, it began, then I was right. Dad pushed Daniel away. I'm sorry, but you need to know the truth. Claire read every word. About my work, about the money, about how the Hale family home, the investments, the safety net they took for granted were all legally mine now. Emily had protected them, quietly, out of love. Claire walked out of that building a different person. That night she confronted Richard, slid the papers across his desk. He laughed at first, then he read. His face collapsed. The world he thought he owned evaporated in seconds. Accounts frozen, credit lines reviewed. The house no longer his. Mark's bravado disappeared when his card declined at a restaurant. The fall wasn't loud. It was surgical. A week later, I sent one message. A meeting. Location attached. No discussion. They arrived at a construction site on the edge of the city. Dust. Steel. A sign read, Future Home of the Evelyn Moore Art Center. That was Emily. Her dream. I stood there in work boots, plans under my arm. No suit, no smile. Richard tried to talk his way through it. Family, grief, mistakes. I listened. Then I told him the truth. About how they treated me. About the irony of living off someone they considered beneath them. About the moment they decided I wasn't family. And how that decision had consequences. Claire spoke next. She apologized. Really apologized. No excuses, no conditions. I nodded. It mattered. Not enough to change everything, but enough to be acknowledged. I laid out the terms. The house would be sold. The money would fund Emily's center. Richard and Mark would receive enough to start over quietly somewhere else. No lawsuits, no public spectacle. Or I would step aside and let the collapse play out for everyone to see. They agreed. They didn't have a choice. 6 months later, the center opened. Kids filled the halls. Music echoed where silence used to live. I stood on the roof one evening listening and felt something settle inside me. Not victory, balance. I didn't destroy them. I just stopped holding them up. There's a difference. So here's my question for you. When someone looks down on you, underestimates you, decides your worth without knowing your story, what do you owe them? Revenge, forgiveness, or just the truth? I'd love to hear what you think. Drop a comment. Tell me what you've seen, what you've lived through, and if this story hit close to home, you're not alone.